Thanks for coming onto Her Rules Radio, Michelle. Great to have you.
Thank you so much, Alex.
All right, everybody, this is Michelle Aspinwall. We are talking to an incredible coach, speaker, skincare creator, and author. And I was just diving into your written work, but you have so much to share about working with women and their hormones, working with women in midlife transition. How did you get to where you are now? I mean, that's such a stupid question. How did you get here today? I was reading through your story, and you have this incredible creatrix past. You were a dancer. You were a you were into fashion design. You were a costume designer, and you reached this stage of real physical exhaustion. You had like your first bottom, right? You reached this breaking point where your health just became an issue. Take us there.
Completely. So I enjoyed every bit of getting to this health crisis. And when I say that, I legit mean I worked myself into an absolute health crisis. But it wasn't, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every minute of working really hard and the accomplishments that I had. And the interesting...
Can we pause?
Yeah,
Hold
sorry.
on. That's good.
I got this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I'm a babysitter for everybody. This is a podcasting studio, people. Okay, sorry. I'm just gonna start at the beginning.
Yes, go ahead.
All right.
Cool.
Rewind. Start over. All right. Welcome back to Her Rules Radio. I'm Alex Jamison. Michelle Aspinwall, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
Yes, so you are a coach, speaker, skincare creator, and author. You work with women around their hormones, their vitality. You work with women in midlife transition, which covers a whole host of topics,
Yes.
juicy and dark. But let's talk about how you first got to this, your own journey of reaching that first bottom that so many of us hit. You were a dancer, you were a fashion design major. Tell us about the first stage of physical exhaustion that brought you to where you are now.
So I enjoyed working myself to the bone in college and in my 20s. I worked in film, worked in opera, dance, theater, a lot of off-Broadway shows where you end up doing everything, including sweeping the stage sometimes. And that really, working that hard and the creation of art is can be an amazing thing, and it can also be completely exhausting, and the hours all contributed to this health crisis that really brought me to my knees. And it took years to get that diagnosis. So you start feeling badly, and then you start having symptoms, and then my unique situation is that I never looked overweight. I never had any of the usual and normal symptoms for autoimmune disease. So that just wasn't on the radar for the doctors I was going to. And like a host of women, I had to go through years of testing, multiple doctors to even get a diagnosis.
Oh my gosh, can we just pause right there, because that is such a common story.
I mean, over and over, and it's still a very common story. I mean, this was, 18, 19, 20, almost 20 years ago. It was like 19 years ago. So back then, I don't think autoimmune was what it is today.
No, you had to go to the weird hippie doctors like I did with a fern and a Buddha in their front office,
Totally,
right? Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, if there was a Buddha and a fern in your doctor's office, you were like, all right, I think I'm in the right place, but what is this?
Yeah, exactly. And like, let's not even forget the incense smell coming out, wafting out.
Yeah, there's a fountain, there's crystals, they're body testing you, muscle testing you. Yeah,
Exactly.
This is where I was 20 years ago too.
Exactly.
I get it. I
think-
set the scene.
Yeah, I think we share this. So in finding my own diagnosis, like with these various healers or at this point it was just doctors, I thought, okay, I've got the diagnosis. This is what so many people, and even into old age, people want the diagnosis.
Oh, tell me what's wrong with me.
Yeah, they want the label. So the diagnosis gave me an idea of where to begin. So
Right.
from there, I did a host of research, figured out what was going on, and through my own trying to get pregnant, getting pregnant, having one kid, having another kid very close to the first kid, baby, I really figured out what hormones were, what they did, and how when you use them in your advantage and you understand how the system works. And I'm not saying every woman has to understand the entire physiology of the hormone.
Good, because I still don't get it.
I know. I mean, look, it's a process.
It's a process.
It's a process. But once I really understood what my body was doing, and I really, from the research I've done and the doctors I've had affiliation with, it really was for me a metabolic syndrome, which when people hear that, they think overweight. But if you're not overweight, you don't necessarily know that it's a metabolic syndrome. It begins there, can begin there for some. So I dealt with that and then moved on to really go deeper and understand greater. And then my younger son, I mean, I was older. I was close to 40 when I had him. And he developed a really chronic condition. His first year of life was really hard for him. But he had really bad eczema, really bad croup. Like, we were in the hospital. He was in the, intensive care twice.
Oh my gosh. Terrifying.
Yeah, terrifying. Like, when you're watching your baby your toddler or baby not be able to breathe, it's a little scary. So, but his eczema was debilitating for him. And so I was, the steroid creams weren't working, all the usual stuff. Like, if the usual stuff worked, it would have been amazing, but none of it worked. Mm-hmm. The medication didn't work for me, the steroids didn't work for him. So that's how A-Skin really came about, was understanding through my own health journey and recognizing that toxins are a massive part.
Right.
We live in the most toxic environment.
Yeah, both physically and mentally. We live in the most toxic environment.
Yeah,
and those things do play a part in your work. You talk about not only the physical healing we have to do, whether it's autoimmune or other issues that we come up against, hormonal or autoimmune, but the mental and spiritual work that we have to do.
Absolutely.
So take us through a little bit, what were the top few things that you discovered about how to heal or support your body through the Hashimoto. Here's my motto, Hashimoto's. Through your Hashimoto's, what did you have to change about how you took care of yourself?
Food, I mean, this is commonplace now, but food, understanding food and nutrient density, strategically combining food is the foundation for all health. Mm-hmm. I mean, without that, the actual workings, the inner workings of the body can't do what it's supposed to do. It has to be nourished on a very basic level. And, the better you do, the better you perform, right? I mean, any athlete will tell you that. So it started with food, but then it really I went deeper, as we talked about, and started to really understand how I could connect more with myself as a woman, with the age that I was becoming, because at this point we're talking like over 40, and really what this transition is supposed to feel like, what's normal versus what's customary, and how we can actually help ourselves through the transition in order to live and have a woke, dynamic existence. Because it's not enough to just be functioning for me.
No. Although many of us do just get comfortable with just getting through the day. I mean, for some of us, just getting through the day is a miracle.
Yeah.
And that at a certain point, you're like, this isn't enough. I can't live like this.
No.
So let's talk about, I think this is a good point to bring in intuition, because you had to fight and work and search and ask and get answers to find out what was wrong with you.
I did.
It took a long time.
It did.
And people told you that nothing was wrong with you. I'm sure at one point somebody said, oh, you're fine. The blood tests say so.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't buy it. I don't believe it. So in you, there was something, there was a voice, there was a knowing that said, this isn't it. I need to keep searching. I need to keep looking.
So yes, most definitely. And that when you have symptoms, there's a point at which you just want to feel better, right?
Yes.
But then once you start to feel better, you start to ask questions and you start to go, I think inherently the human condition, once you deal with the outward stuff, it creates a dynamic where you then go in. At least for me, that was part of my trajectory, right? So in going in, inward, and at the same time hitting around 42, I think a lot of people, I mean, look, I don't identify with the current sort of language around, menopause and the change and this transition.
But just for shorthand, we're going to have to use like perimenopause and menopause, just so people know what we're talking about.
We are. So the between 40 and 50 before menopause. So menopause is like, let's just define it. It's the one day when we haven't had a period for 12 months, 12 consecutive months. So menopause is one day. It's a one-day party. But the build up, right? You like that?
Why aren't there menopause parties?
I know.
Menoparty.
Menoparty.
Oh my God, new business, hashtag.
Nobody
Quick.
has said that.
Oh my God, I'm going to GoDaddy right now and I'm
Love
buying
it.
that URL.
Love it.
Okay, anyway, the one-day party that
The
is
one-day
menopause.
party. That's your menopause. And then everything after that, you're postmenopausal, right? So like the build up to that.
And
though,
no longer have any value to society. Sorry. Go ahead. The build up to that is.
the build up is where a lot of the sort of dark, symptomatic,
Yeah.
inward. This is okay, and we, you and I have talked about this a little bit, but the womb energy, and I mean, I am like, I'll go there. I'll go to the woo place, but I don't live in the woo place. Like that's not I'm really into traditional healing.
Okay, wait. Take us back to having your child, and you said this portal opened. You said like you started to clue into this wisdom in you, this intuition that came about with having your first kid.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Okay, so in having my first son, the birthing situation was not the easiest. Let's just leave it at that. But in that situation, there was a definite portal that opened up. And when I say portal, I don't mean angels flew down and started to sing. And I mean literally, it was no longer just me. Like there was literally this little human as like a little piece of my heart on legs. And my life is no longer just mine, right? Which is not something you feel when you're just married. It is unique to giving birth. And that connection that I have with both sons, but especially the first one, is quite strong. And in that portal, when that portal was created or opened, or it was potentially always there, I just wasn't tapped into it. So that portal comes, and I recognize that through the transition, or through the years and the transition into my 40s, in looking inward, I would go to that place of, okay, what do I do next? So it doesn't look like me sitting on a rock and like meditating. Like that's not what it looks and feels like, right? It's more that feeling of, I don't want to walk down this side of the street. I'm just gonna cross the street and go there.
Yeah, it's those little tiny hits of like, I'm gonna choose that one instead of that one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I so resonate with what you're talking about. When my son was born, and I was not the kind of person who like ever thought about having kids until it all of a sudden was happening in, around 40. And now here's this being that, because I'm so in love with him and I'm so responsible for him, my awareness has totally expanded to encompass everything around him. And a lot of moms can understand, like I can see something he needs before he knows he needs it, or see something that's about to happen for, you can read their energy. You can read what's happening.
100%.
And as you were talking about earlier, like we can choose to strengthen that. We can choose to keep that energy even after our womb has like decided to put the shingle up and say, closed for the season.
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you see as possible for women and that energy? And whether or not you have kids, we all have access to this.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And in fact, I actually, in doing, I mean, we talked about this, in doing this research and really understanding from a Western perspective what the actual physical organs and systems are doing. I mean, as our estrogen goes down, as basically the ovaries stop producing and the adrenals start producing it. But as the estrogen goes down, estrogen kind of keeps us in that space of, estrogen basically keeps us in that space of, you know, wanting to have sex, wanting to procreate, wanting to, you know, provide for the kids, provide for the family, make sure everyone's okay. It literally does that for us. Whereas then that switch in hormones starts to happen and we start to go inward, think about ourselves, because that shift, that womb energy shift, really, it has to go somewhere. So it's not that we're done
Right.
having children or done caring for our children, but that shift happens.
Yeah, and there's also something around this middle age that we are in that always sounds so like a Tolkien book, The Middle Age, where we're coming into, our hormones are shifting, and a lot of us get into, like, the kids are older, able to take care of themselves more, or they leave the house completely. So we just have more energy for ourselves. Our hormones shift, and like some of us get really pissed for a lot of reasons. Either we have more energy to deal with stuff or things are changing around us. And you talk about how there is this power of the perimenopausal shift, that there is this midlife anger and we have a choice with it. And sorry, everybody listening at home, we are in a building and there's like somebody with an industrial roller over our heads. And that's the joy of podcasting in New York City. And we're just going to keep going with it. Hopefully they can't hear it. So let's talk about the rage of the middle age.
So in working with women, so in my coaching practice, working with women, I find, and I'm really simplifying here, but I find that there's the women who are a bit lost and a bit like, what's happening and what do I do and where do I go and what do I hold on to? And then there's the group. There's those that tend toward the rage or the anger or the, God damn it, I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, you've been asking this of me. I've been doing this, or this is what's expected, or this is what I think has been expected.
Yeah, there's a fed-upness
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. And you can't put on that incredible piece of theater every day anymore.
Oh my God. It's just, I'm tired of using all my energy to hide the anger, right?
Yeah. So in connecting with this, and I really, when I say the word connect, I mean like full on connect with the sadness, connect with the rage or the anger, and figure out what is going on, what is not working, what are you tolerating, and shift that and shift it quickly, because the body holds that energy. And that's what, I mean, energy is energy, right? We are energy beings living in this physical realm. But at the same time, our organs are very physical. There's a physical aspect to this. And when you carry that around for the years beyond, that is how, I'm convinced that is how dis-ease happens and transcends. So this is that opportunity, right, Alex?
Yeah.
This is the opportunity to listen and get on it.
Yeah. So what did you do with the power of that decision? Because you talk about in your book, it's like you can either be debilitated by it or you can get to work with it. So what did you do with the power of that energy?
The first thing I did was I found a group of women, and they really are all women. I found a group of women who could help me take care of my vessel. So like, even though I know all the things I know, I still need those people that I can go to and say, okay, this is happening and that's. So I gathered my group.
Like
my
Team
people.
Michelle?
Team Michelle. That's
Okay.
right. So they encompass a functional doctor, an acupuncturist, a Pilates instructor who knows how with Hashimoto's to work me so that I don't hurt myself, but that I still maintain muscle mass. It's a big deal. There's no if you are not exercising, if you are not lifting weights and maintaining muscle mass at this age, you're doing your body a disservice.
Yeah, it's going to get real hard real fast.
Really fast, yeah.
That's my team too, by the way.
Is it?
Functional doctor, acupuncture, and Pilates.
Yeah.
It's like the genius trio.
The trio. I have to add one more on the energy realm.
What am I missing?
I work with a woman who helps me with both the energy of my businesses and then the energy of my body and how those sync together.
Nice.
Yeah, she's
Like it.
amazing.
That's cool.
So I got that team together. I stopped talking about the transition with women who aren't in it. So because I had kids later in life, a lot of my friends are not here yet. And that's fine. I mean, they'll get somewhere quickly. But they're not. So I stopped talking about it with them because I recognized I was talking about something that they didn't know anything about. And it was a little bit scary to them. And so you get that kind of like, ooh, I don't know what she's talking about.
Right.
When is this going to end? Is she going to stop talking about this soon?
Are you done yet?
Yeah. Where's
Why
the
are you still
wine?
talking about
Can somebody
this?
pass the wine, please?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That whole meme about, is it wine o'clock yet?
Yeah.
The mommies in their wine boxes. I mean, look, we all need a sense of humor and an outlet, but it's maybe a little dangerous.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, for those of us with, by the way, I have Hashimoto's too. I don't think I said that.
No.
We're like sisters.
We are
It's happening. So, but there's also a very spiritual aspect to your work and to your own recovery
Absolutely.
and endurance.
Absolutely.
So what are your, if you don't mind sharing, what are
course.
your spiritual practices? Because you are consistently creating and you are consistently focused on your personal well-being, so that because our bodies need to be in good enough shape for us to run our lives and to build all the things that we want to build and serve the people we want to serve. So what's your spiritual practice and how does it serve you and your mission?
I wish I could say I was one of those people who had a rock solid, I do the same things every day. I'm not one of those people. What I do is prioritize how I feel, and I know what to do in order to feel, because it's all energy, right? If we go back to the intuition and the energy, if I feel intuitively that, I do close my eyes and do a form of meditation, either at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day. It does not look like a pillow with crystals and the such.
Yeah,
In my 4-room apartment that I share with 3.
With all these other humans and
Exactly.
cats. And by the way, I can't sit like that anymore because my knee is like an 80-year-old woman.
Exactly, right? So I have a form of quiet introspection. These words, meditation, it's taken on a whole new form, and sometimes I'm in it and sometimes I run from them. But so the quiet contemplation, and then there are other times where I literally go sit in the middle of Central Park on a specific rock because it has served me well, and I have found that when things serve me well, I hold on to that.
Yeah.
So there's a quiet introspection. I literally wash my face every night. It is one of those things where I look in the mirror, I connect with this person, I connect with my eyes, I connect with my breath, and I look and I take care of my face. And it's not, I don't particularly look like any different than anyone else, but connecting with the thing that is me, and then connecting with my face is what people see, is important to me.
That's a really powerful moment to focus on, that as we, we're not slowing down. We have a lot we want to do in this life. And really taking a moment to look at and feel into our bodies and our soul that is the resident of this body. Take care of her, honor her, love her, feed her, give her rest, moments of quiet, joy, pleasure, like all those things that we need to feel fully satisfied so that we can bring our best full selves to all the work that we want to create. It's no small thing. It's a series of tiny things as well at the same time.
You couldn't have said that better. It is a series of small, seemingly inconsequential rituals. And I use that word, I mean, it's not a habit
Yeah.
by any means. But yeah, they are seemingly inconsequential, and yet they are monumental.
Right. So, this is called Her Rules Radio. And women come here to, have the light shined upon the old rules we've been living by that maybe we need to get rid of, burn down, or re-examine. What rules do you try to live by in your own life to support this work that's coming through you? And I know that we're not perfect and nobody does everything 100% all the time. But what rules do you try to live by for yourself?
Really, quality food is a non-negotiable for me. And in fact, I've never had an eating disorder like that. I have many issues. That is not one of them. But so I want to preface that, what I'm about to say with that. If I can't have the level of food and nourishment that I desire, I'll go without. Because in our evolutionary process, hunting and gathering, the food was never this abundant, ever, in our evolutionary standpoint. And so I know for myself that if I go without, I'm just allowing the cells of my body to go in and clean out the dark corners and kill off a lot of stuff. So I don't ever worry about fasting in that regard. It's never been that for me. So that's the first rule. And the next rule I would say is that there's a lot of shoulds out there. There's a lot of shoulds.
Let's talk about the shoulds, because this was the final question. What is a rule that you see other people living by that you think we should do away with or rewrite? And that's usually a should. Like, we should be this. A good woman should be that. What's a should or a rule you see people living by that maybe it's time to redo or get rid of?
That's a good one. I think if I just off the cuff right now answering that, I think the biggest should for women is to learn to prioritize your happiness, and that your desires are so incredibly important, and they're put there for a reason. So if you desire to do something, if you desire to not do something anymore, if you desire to live a big life, if you desire to be a mother and be the best mother that you possibly, I mean, like, you don't have to be an entrepreneur because that's the latest and greatest fad. So I think that's what I would say, is that that really putting your desires first.
Beautiful. I love it so much. And I want everyone who's listening to go to michelleaspinwall.com and check out your incredible skincare line. Folks, I am so excited. I have From A Skin, which is the name of your company, this beautiful body butter. Oh my God. I opened it and I was like, I want to lick this. I want to eat it. And incredible products, beautiful, non-toxic, glorious, like yummy, yummy skincare. Do check out michelleaspinwall.com. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing and for being here with us on Her Rules Radio.
Thank you, Alex.